Hey, there we are. Hi, my name is Tommy, and I'd like to welcome you into the Garbage Chute, the Star Wars show that isn't afraid to deep dive.
There we are.
Hi, my name is Tommy,
A little dirty.
and I'd like to welcome you
What is
into
that?
the Garbage Chute, the Star Wars show that isn't afraid to deep dive.
There we are.
Hi, my name is Tommy.
A little
and I'd like
dirty.
to welcome
Are you guys hearing that?
into the
Yeah.
Garbage Chute, the Star.
I don't know what's happening.
I love your voice.
That was
That was
amazing.
thrilling.
That was terrifying. I don't know what just happened. We're not afraid to deep dive and get a little dirty as we dissect and reassemble a galaxy far, far away. Now I'm totally wigged out. I don't know what the hell just happened. That's okay. But don't worry, we're not deep diving alone. Joining us in the Garbage Chute is our panel of experts. I'm like totally just frazzled at this point. So yeah, they're going to help us navigate the sometimes murky waters of the Star Wars galaxy. Spoiler alert, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't seen the final episode of Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi, this will be laden heavily with spoilers. So please do be aware of that. But before we get started over here, we're going to go around the room and say hello to everyone, starting right there with Quail Man, that guy there. How's it going?
Hello. Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Really excited to talk about the episode this week. I don't sound excited because my voice is gone, but, we're going to get there. Let's
That's
go.
right. Are you all done? Is School of Rock wrapped? Is that a wrap?
Yeah, so I could do the show like a million times and not lose my voice, but as soon as I did it the last time yesterday and sobbed my way through most of Act 2, I now have no voice. So
That's right. That's right.
But I don't have anything to do now, so I can get it back,
Oh no, my friend. We've got lots to do. And we're going to talk about it. For those of you that do follow Circle of Nerds on all of the platforms, because we are on all of the platforms, we've been kind of kicking around a fun idea that's been churning and bubbling in my brain for a little while. And I think it's going to give all of us some performance opportunities, some acting. I am not an actor, but Vengeance, Aaron, and Doug are very, very fine thespians, and maybe I can learn a thing or two from them. But this thing, and we've talked about it a little bit amongst ourselves. I don't think I'm ready to put it out there just yet until we do some stuff and develop it. But I'm really excited about it. And so yeah, there will be some more acting opportunities coming our way, Quailman. So don't worry.
I'm here for it.
Fear not.
Always.
Can you quick confirm what's on your shirt? We have a guess.
Oh, so this is Arabesh. It's also mirrored because of the computer. Do you have a guess?
Is it May the Force be with you?
It sure as shit is.
Yeah.
Quick shout out. This is a birthday present that I received last week, along with a 501st hoodie
Nice.
from my dear friend Felix. So thanks, Felix.
Nice. And I'll tell you, that 501st swag is not easy to come by. You cannot buy it in stores or anything. You've either got to get it off their forums, or it has to be gifted by a member of the 501st themselves.
I'm pretty stoked. It's really swell.
Or removed off of a dead Legionnaire, but hopefully that's not.
Well, it smelled new, so
okay, that's fine. Also joining us from parts known, it's Miss V and Aaron. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
Doing all right.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you got?
What?
That's all you got? That's it? Usually
I think I'm feeling a bittersweet feeling at the moment as we talk about Kenobi, which has been my favorite
Agreed.
Disney Plus Star Wars TV show to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a bittersweet end to it. But if we get into the murky waters of Kenobi and the world of the Force as Obi sees it, I'm happy to be here. And
look at that. Love for the stash. Doug was just talking about that before we went live. Aaron's rocking the stash. I'm getting like California Highway Patrol vibes off of that.
If I get too close, If I get too far away from the camera, it doesn't look like anything. Over
Get
here,
a better look.
okay, but if I get too close, it's like, okay, we just got out of high school. So if I stay right here, it's the perfect distance.
I like it. I like it a lot.
As in like Annie Rooster, because I played him. Yes. All right. we can talk about anything else now.
I'm doing great as well. I'm in that 2 weeks out from a convention, lack of sleep, stress. How am I going to get it all done? Why did I decide to do props for an entire show at the same time? Have I lost my mind? Kind of.
Yes, you have.
Yes, I have.
And Con Crunch is real.
I decided to make Ahsoka Tano, which is already armor and headpiece and makeup, and then I said I'm gonna rep Reva at conventions because I love her.
Of course.
The nice thing about Ahsoka is her character's been around for a while, so I can go on Etsy, spend $20, get a pattern. Not for Reva, I decided to create a pattern for her.
It's looking awesome. It's looking very awesome.
It's taking years off my life, but I'm so excited.
But you're young. You can handle it. It's fine. You'll be all right. All right. So tonight we're going to be dueling with the fates, saying hello there to the future of the Force, and we'll be talking about how Vader took the high ground to the face multiple times. Ouch! So all that and more coming up tonight. But first, let's recap this thing. Ventus, if you would be so kind as to take us through what happened this week briefly.
Yes, absolutely. So episode 6 picks off right where episode 5 ended off. Roken and the refugees, as well as Kenobi and Leia, they are all on their way off of Jabim, heading towards Tessin. We get a little fun Last Jedi moment with our heroes being chased by the Empire in a ship that doesn't quite have enough juice to kind of get them where they're going. And Kenobi, being who Kenobi is, realizes that he has a chance to save everyone on the ship if he kind of departs and goes off on his own, knowing that Vader will chase after him. Leia overhears this plan, gets immediately upset, and storms off. But it is Haja who sits down with her and kind of talks to her. We don't really get to see what he says, but it's okay. She feels a little bit better afterwards. And, she kind of understands that Kenobi isn't doing this because he wants to leave her. She's definitely heartbroken. You promised to bring me home. And he says, I wish I could. And he lovingly, in a moment, was the first of many moments to bring tears to my eye, gives her Tala's holster. And because Leia is Leia, she's like, it's empty. And he's like, yeah you're I'm not giving you a loaded gun. But he then gets ready to leave, and which Roken kind of looks at him and goes, you're not really doing this for us. Like, you also want this last showdown. You kind of want your chance to meet Vader alone on even playing field, in which Obi kind of, you kind of got me. So he takes off. Vader, being Vader, sees Obi-Wan going off on his own and completely just focused and zeroed in on the one thing that he only cares about at that moment, which is Obi-Wan, says, I'm going to take my whole ship after them, allowing the refugees to get away. At that point, we also have going on at the same time, we get to see a Reva show up to Tatooine, looking for Owen, who we know that she now knows is somehow connected to Vader or Anakin or Obi-Wan somehow through a boy and Owen. So she goes to Tatooine's looking for him. Owen and young Luke, who we actually really get to see for the first time close up in 6 episodes, happen to be in the marketplace where one of their friends warns them that they are being looked for. So they run back to their homestead. And in one of the most awesome moments, which mad respect to Aunt Beru.
Oh, man.
Owen, I will never say another word against them. Their death will forever haunt me now in A New Hope. They basically say, screw Reva, whoever this girl is. We don't care who she is, who trained her, what she's here for. We are enough to defend our nephew. And they strap up. Like they
got gangs
out of their wall to the point where like even Owen's a little scared of Beru because she's ready to just kick some ass, and it's amazing.
We saved the day.
So we leave them and we go back and we see that Kenobi has landed on a planet that I don't think we get the name of, but it's an incredible planet where behind them are all these rocky spires facing a giant field. Waiting there, Vader lands, and because the Skywalkers are nothing if not dramatic motherfuckers, he lands, cape billowing behind him, walking out. And there is this moment where it's a really great callback to episode 3, where, we get the, I will do what I must, the blade ignition. He does the flip, he does the pose. Everyone screams because it's exactly what we wanted. And then cues up what I believe truly to be the best lightsaber duel in live action lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars. We get to see Obi-Wan full strength for the first time in 6 episodes. He has started to let go of that trauma that was keeping him away from the Force. He is tapping into what makes him strong. And even to the point where Vader is a little off put by how strong Kenobi is coming at him. Of course, we do see that, Vader is Vader and he is strong as well. So he does at one point literally shatter the earth beneath Kenobi's feet and knock him into a pit.
He was earthbending. Vader was earthbending, no doubt.
And we get to see which every single fan of the prequels, and pretty much if you've been on the internet at this point, we see Vader at the top of this pit, Kenobi down below, and all of us went, he has the high ground. Because
I wish he would have said it. Ooh, that's the high ground.
He didn't need to. We all said it for him.
We did.
And at that point, we see Vader literally just bury Kenobi in what has to be several tons of rocks. We flash back then to the Lars homestead where Reva has showed up, and she's not doing well. She did not have a chance to go to the salon.
She comes in looking like a ragged Sanderson sister.
Yeah, her edges are not laid anymore. Her weave is coming out. Girl looks rough. She's actively her wound is not healed. And she walks in being just absolutely creepy. She is out of her mind with
She's been through some shit. She's been through some shit.
And I gotta say, Owen and Beru hold their own. They hail her down in blaster fire. At one point, Owen is just beating her with a giant pipe and then jams his finger into her saber wound before she kind of rage pushes him off. She goes into the room where Beru is hiding, and Beru just fucking hits her behind the door, allowing young Luke to escape across the desert of Tatooine. Ultimately, Reva does get the best of Owen and Beru, but she doesn't walk away unscathed. It's kind of impressive, actually.
Nor does she kill them, which could have been easy.
She doesn't care about them. Her focus is Luke Skywalker. Flashback to Vader, who has walked away. He thinks Obi-Wan is done because in the Star Wars universe, we do not believe in the double tap. So he walks away, and we see that Kenobi is literally buried not only under the weight of the rocks, but he's hearing all of those doubts he had let go of coming back into his mind. Everything has ever been said to him to keep him down. But contrast to that, he starts seeing images of Leia and Luke and the love that he has for them because of the love that he had for their mother and father. And because Obi-Wan Kenobi is at his most powerful whenever he has someone to love in front of him and someone to defend, he yeets 10 tons of rocks. Earth yeets them off of him in the greatest display of force power that we've ever seen from Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he walks up behind Vader, and he gets within probably 6 feet of him before Vader turns around just enough time to defend himself. And they go back at it. And Obi-Wan comes at him non-stop. He is literally throwing the entire planet at Vader at this point. He pelts him with about 100 rocks that he has levitated up in the air. Somehow they don't do any damage. It's kind of funny, but it's a great moment. And throughout that, he also is able to damage his respirator on his suit. And that really, really takes Vader down a notch just before Obi-Wan is able to slash at him and take off the left half of his mask.
Which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. But we
Oh,
get
yeah.
to see Anakin under the mask for the first time, and there is an incredible moment where that stops Obi-Wan in his tracks. He is looking at Anakin Skywalker, and he apologizes to him for everything that has been weighing on him for the past decade. And Anakin looks at him and says, I am not your failure. You did not kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. And you can just see the heartbreak in Kenobi at that point. And at that point, Obi-Wan says, well, then my friend is truly lost. And he has no choice but to just walk away. And we'll dive a lot more into those reasons here.
Oh, yeah.
But that's where we leave him. Kenobi leaves Anakin just gasping for air on this planet. At this point, Obi-Wan feels Luke's distress, and he hyperspeeds off to Tatooine. Back there, Owen and Beru are calling out into the desert to try and, hopefully Luke will hear them and come back. Obi-Wan arrives, and, he starts to join that search. Meanwhile, Reva has been chasing after Luke, and she catches him in this narrow cavern on Tatooine, force pulls him down the side of a hill, and knocks him out cold. And then what I think is some of the most beautiful, just imagery in Star Wars, Reva raises her lightsaber to kill Luke. But instead of seeing Luke, she sees a vision of herself at that age. And it flashes between Luke and herself, and we kind of cut away before we know how that really affects her. Eventually, we do see her carrying what appears to be the lifeless body of Luke Skywalker back across the desert. She lays him down at the feet of his aunt and uncle, where he's clearly still alive. He's kind of gasping for air. They grab him and rush him back inside to their house. And now it's just Reva and Obi-Wan, and she's broken, absolutely broken. She's crying and sobbing like, I failed them, talking about her fellow Padawan who she couldn't protect then, who she failed to avenge in the last episode. And I failed them. I wasn't strong enough. And then she pauses and says, have I become him? Worrying that now she's become the very thing she was trying to destroy. And Obi-Wan becomes Master Obi-Wan, that teacher Obi-Wan, and says, no, you haven't. You chose not to. You're free from what has been holding you back, and I'm also free now. And we now get to choose the role that we want to play in the galaxy. And she pulls out her Inquisitor lightsaber and drops it. And for the first time in a decade, Reva now gets to choose her own path, free of the burden of her own hate and her own anger. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. Own anger? That was weird.
Her own hanger? I mean,
she's really hangry.
I've never seen anyone eat.
She needed a Snickers
bar. Nobody's eating. She definitely needed a Snickers bar. 100%.
But the episode starts to wrap up, and we get to see Obi-Wan pack up his cave. He is finally dressed in his full Jedi outfit again. He packs up his cave. He loads up his space camel. I don't know what it's called. And a great callback to anyone who's familiar with the Obi-Wan mythos character, very familiarly dressed. And he goes back to the Lars homestead to kind of say goodbye and basically let go of the obligation that was he felt he was tethered towards for Luke, allows the possibility of Luke to just be a child and grow up innocent and realize that Obi-Wan has a lot more that he can do in the universe. And in a very beautiful moment, Lars is like, hey, you want to meet him? And we get the moment that caused every Star Wars fan to just lose their shit.
Yeah.
He walks up to a young Luke Skywalker and says, hello there. And everyone just collectively loses their shit.
Yeah.
And he walks off into the desert. But the series does not end before we get what we all wanted, a Qui-Gon Jinn freaking cameo with, oh my God, my brain just...
Liam Neeson.
Thank you. I don't know why my brain was like Liam Hemsworth. I was like, not him. Liam Neeson shows up, and because Qui-Gon is Qui-Gon, took you long. I know. Qui-Gon's like, took you long enough. And, he's like, well, I was trying to reach you. And Qui-Gon's like, I was always here. And that kind of confirms that it was Obi-Wan getting in his own way. And we see Obi-Wan walking off with the spirit of Qui-Gon to kind of go on that journey that we know will take him to learn about becoming a Force ghost. And oh no, did I skipped one part.
I think we could probably recover
I can go back. Kenobi does also go to Alderaan to say goodbye to Leia one more time, who is now dressed in a mix of her princess garb as well as Tala's holster, which fits perfectly.
Of course.
So is now a Lola holster. But
that was a tearjerker. That moment was.
She goes and she thinks she's going to be meeting more peasants because her parents are taking her out to the platform. Kenobi walks out and he admits that he lied to her, that he did know her parents, and just gushes upon her the wonderful things that he loved about Padme and about Anakin the most, and tells her basically, you come from two of the most incredible people in the galaxy, and this is what I see in you that is so much of them. And it's one of the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moments in Star Wars. And they hug, and in a great throwback actually to Phantom Menace, when Anakin says goodbye to his mother, she asks the same question, will I ever see you again? And for anyone who has seen the series, that's when our hearts fell out of our chest and we started crying. And he says, maybe, because they technically do in very, very sad circumstances in the future. And then, he goes off, does the stuff with Luke, Qui-Gon, the end. And that is the longest recap you didn't ask for.
Thank you very much for that brief recap of episode 6.
I don't know why you let me do the recap. You know that was not going to be brief.
In the notes that I have, the recap is timed out at 30 seconds. 30-second recap. It's fine. We're only 22 minutes into the show right now.
I did talk for 30 seconds.
You did.
Minimum.
Over
and then some. All right. So before we dive into the topics, let's get everyone's ratings. I think we'll go with Doug first on this one. I think if that's okay, just because you've talked.
I'll go whenever, man.
I think Vince just needs a break.
Is this an individual episode rating? Or is this a series rating?
I think that we should do both. I think that because this is our recap of the season. So do your individual and then follow it up with a series.
As a note, I think the last rating you gave was a 14. As a 7.
Yeah.
Go on.
So this is like a 38. So okay, it was the best episode of the series, and it for everyone who was getting all pissy about plot holes and things. Like, how are they? Blah, blah, blah. Watch the fucking show, man. Just let it happen. I don't understand people. Anyways, it was great. It was fantastic. It gave me everything I wanted. It gave me things I didn't know I wanted. It gave me things I didn't know I needed. It took the hole in my heart and it injected it with lightsabers and earthbending. Which, if you don't know this yet, Ventus and I are both incredibly big Avatar: The Last Airbender fans, and yes. I would love to see some kind of crossover content between the two. I need Nickelodeon and Disney to get on that stat.
We already did see that crossover. That happened this week.
Disney and Nickelodeon will
I need all of it.
You need Aang jumping around.
Yeah. Anyways, I have a lot of ideas for D&D characters now based on combining Atla and Star Wars. Anyways, yeah, it was spectacular. 38. So this is only because I can't retroactively go back and adjust my grades when I gave the first couple episodes a 10. And frankly, I don't regret that. There were 10s. They were great. They were what I wanted them to be. Maybe not what I wanted them to be, but what I didn't know I needed them to be. And then we get here and it's everything I wanted it to be and everything I needed it to be. It was perfect. So, and as a series, it's by far my favorite of the live action Star Wars series. And I love Mando. Mando is, Mando restored this faith in Star Wars for me that I had kind of waned a little bit through Rise of Skywalker. I know I'll get a little bit of hate from sequel fans, and that's fine. I'm learning to appreciate it more. but it sort of restored that. And honestly, it made me interested in the Jedi and Sith battle again, which was maybe my biggest criticism of the sequel trilogy, is that I wasn't particularly interested in learning more about the Jedi and the Sith. I just wanted the rest of the universe, the galaxy. But this like reinvigorated, like now I want to go back. I was working from home today, so in the background I had Clone Wars on the entire day because I want to relive that. It's great. Trying to get my wife to watch everything with me, but she's being reluctant. I told her I would watch Bridgerton, so we're hoping it happens.
I love Bridgerton. That's a different podcast. Let's go.
I'm not opposed to watching it. I just never have, and that was my bargaining chip, but she hasn't been yet. So.
You got to do what you got to do. Yeah. You will do what you must.
I will do what I must.
Hey.
So it's a 38 for the episode, and like at least a 50 for the series. Like,
right. Out of 10, that's good. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
all right.
Pretty good, guys.
All right, Aaron, what you got for us?
I think I already kind of said it was my favorite live action. So far it's been my favorite series. I think it did the justice of Star Wars campiness, just enough as like a spice for, I think, what adults are looking for in the Star Wars universe, which is depth, more artful storytelling and visualization of these moments, which would also call on comics, which would also call on almost sometimes like indie storytelling or indie storytelling. Something that would like show up at a film festival, like some of this you could put in a portfolio for a film festival and it would, I think, get rave reviews. So for me, a lot of my votes were like 10s, if not just like 8s and 10s. I mean, this for me, it goes to 12. I can't go as high as 50 because I didn't set that precedent. But I will stick to the 12. I wouldn't give Mandalorian a 10, even though I really, really like it. So Kenobi for me is a 12.
All right,
and I think it's important to note that, like, I'm sorry, I'm going to co-opt for 2 seconds. I think it is important to note that, like, there's still a ton of credence to what Louis said last week. I probably wouldn't have given the first 3 or 4 parts a 10 out of 10 had they released everything all together and we were like just kind of reviewing an act. Because I think the way it's set up is a brilliant kind of 3-part act. But that gets interrupted because you get the first act and then you have to wait every couple of weeks. It just was kind of bizarre. I do think it should have all been dropped at once, but we can move on.
Okay. V?
So if it's not already obvious, my like 2 favorite characters in Star Wars are Obi-Wan Kenobi and like Ahsoka Tano. So I went into this and my bar was pretty high. And it didn't just clear it. It broke the bar in half, flushed it down the toilet, and middle fingered at the bar in the toilet and just sailed over the moon. It was so good. No, I really loved it. I thought that this show as a whole did, it really tied in the Kenobi that the live action fans who haven't seen Clone Wars would do with the original trilogy. I think it added enough from Clone Wars. I think that for fans of every Star Wars medium would get a little, there's so many things to pull from so many other movies. There's like with the moment with the rocks, we have Rey doing that in Last Jedi. So there's so much that they pulled in seamlessly without having to be like, oh, I see what you did. Like, it was such a seamless story. And it was also, I think, probably the best written live action Star Wars TV show so far as a cohesive story. And I think the way that it showed the effects of Order 66 and the pain that came after it, that's not something that we really get to see at the depth that Kenobi showed us until this point. And I think that was something very unique that it did, as well as having a very, very difficult task of when it kind of inserted itself, because we already have obviously the entire prequels, and then we have the Rebels series, and we have Rogue One, and then we have Andor coming out, and then we have the original trilogy. So to try and take an established character, drop it just before that, and not screw up any of that continuity, I think the show did an incredible job of navigating those waters. The show for me, 100 points. I love it. I'll watch it all the time. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. We need to take a pause for a moment. And we'll, for our listeners, our man, Mr. Deacon, he has commented from a place of love instead of a place of hatred where it normally comes from. So Mr. Deacon says Obi-Wan finally found his nutsack and fought Vader. I loved it.
That is a huge compliment.
That is a huge compliment, even though he called Obi-Wan.
I think the only thing he's literally ever said about Obi-Wan before this comment is Obi-Wan's a bitch. So like, no, I loved it. I thought I kind of agree with what also Aaron and Doug said. Just to make my last statement, if I had to rank all of the episodes just on a scale of 1 to 10, this would probably be the only 10, with everything else kind of falling between like 7 to 9. I don't think there was a bad episode. Okay. I think this one completely hit it out of the park in a way the other ones didn't. And I also agree that I don't know if it should have been everything dropped at once, but maybe every 2, or done it more so that way. But yeah, I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it.
So Logic Lust here made a comment. They completely nailed the Anakin and Obi-Wan relationship. Mm-hmm. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Without a doubt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they gave us the flashback to like show the parallels, right? Like that's what they did. To Aaron's point about the art film, like that flashback, I'm kind of sad there wasn't more flashback in the series as a whole, but I also, I'm literally watching the Clone Wars like in 5 minutes when we're done here. So
in 5 minutes,
I didn't, well, okay. I didn't need Clone Wars flashbacks, but I love that they gave us something that was very intimate between the two of them and intentional with how the story unfolded. Of course, this was the last episode, but it illuminated how well they understood the dynamic in the 10 years post Order 66.
I agree. And, you know, honestly, for Anthony posted something here, and we'll get to that in a second. But I was really, really nervous about the flashbacks because flashbacks aren't historically something that we see in Star Wars. And I'm an OT purist, and we never got flashbacks in the original trilogy. And, you know, back in my day, my Star Wars didn't have flashbacks.
Okay, Grandpa.
We didn't need the flashbacks because there was nothing to flashback to. There was nothing to flashback to, but I think that the flashbacks were handled very, very well in this series. So Anthony says for the series as a whole, I'm going to say a 7. He enjoyed it, but didn't need it. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Enjoyed it, but didn't need it. I might agree with that. I don't know if we necessarily needed an Obi-Wan series, but I'm kind of glad we got it. And because I think on a certain level, we did need it, because I think we did need to kind of see that bridge between Clone Wars, Annie and Obi, and original trilogy, Annie and Obi. You know, there was always that missing piece.
I think the only series that we really needed, honestly, if we had to like really just say which one was most important, I would argue Clone Wars is probably the one that we needed, because the prequels were so shit upon, and the Clone Wars series actually redeemed a lot of what people hated about the prequels, and allowed them to actually kind of dive into these characters and allowed people to expand their minds. I tell anyone, when you watch the prequels, read between the lines. That's where the story is. Like that's the way to do it. And honestly, I'm not a sequels fan. I appreciate what they did. I appreciate all the fans they brought in, but I would love to see a Clone Wars-esque series from during the sequels, because I want that. I also want to have those redeemed. I want to like them because they are Star Wars content. And so I think that like I think that the Clone Wars is the only series we need, but I think that Kenobi's importance can't be understated, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Marcus, once again, he's chiming in. He said they made one mistake during the flashbacks, and he was old. Yes, he was someone. I saw a meme recently. It was the 40-year-old virgin, but with Anakin,
yeah,
40-year-old Padawan. It said while he killed the young one, and then he said, "I told you he killed them, Tommy." And you know what? I'm still not buying it. He didn't. As far as I know, Anakin did not kill any younglings. I will take this to my grave. That was Jedi propaganda. We don't ever see Anakin killing a youngling at all.
I believe he swings
the security footage.
In the security footage,
Yeah.
We don't see it.
We don't see it. We don't see it.
Hold on, though. But
We get
you
Reva's
see
confession,
him.
and we get the dialogue between Yoda and Obi-Wan.
There's also the dead youngling in his bedroom.
That's a good. The basement of the Inquisitor's triangle.
Wall art. Like,
He didn't do that. That's the Inquisitors. He had nothing to do with that. He didn't do that. And he didn't. I mean, we see him poke a youngling, which was Reva. She didn't die.
You want to talk about being an OT purist. Darth Vader is the baddest motherfucker in the galaxy.
Yeah, 100%.
And he murdered a bunch of children to get
he said,
there.
"Fuck that
If
kid."
he
I didn't see it.
If he didn't murder a bunch of children,
Mhm.
why would he be where he is now?
That's a good point. You can't murder children and get a PG rating
Yeah.
or PG-13.
Can you imagine if they come out with Star
love.
Wars content that's just like, it turns out Anakin didn't kill anyone, and everyone just jumped to conclude? Can you imagine how the fandom would just like?
I will say this though, I watched this show. I do think I needed this series, and I think it's because it came right after the Marvel. Oh my God, Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. Yeah.
Moon Knight set the table for me for Obi-Wan because I wasn't sure where we were going to go with Obi-Wan's emotional and mental health state.
Yeah.
Because we do see him as like a pretty casual desert dweller in the OT. But kind of coming off of that, like same kind of mental health journey through Moon Knight, I think that's where a lot of people were impatient early on in the series.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I loved, and I think that's what we needed. We needed to see him give up on Anakin.
Yeah.
We needed to see his struggle with the kids. We saw him deliver the T-16 Skyhopper. Like, we needed it.
I agree. You know what though? I don't think that he gave up on Anakin. I don't want to. I mean, we might be splitting hairs here. And it might just be semantics, but I think he just accepted it. I don't think he really ever fully, truly gave up on Anakin, but I think he just finally said, you know what? I accept it. I'm accepting it. This is what it is at this point. I've done all that I can, and he's just accepted that he's gone from Anakin to Darth. His friend, his brother is truly dead.
I think he accepts that he can't get Anakin out of Vader.
Yeah,
I think it's more that he accepts that he knows Anakin is still there. I'm convinced that it was Anakin who said, you are not, I'm not your failure. I think that was Anakin just peeking through. But I don't think that Obi-Wan was enough to pull Anakin out of the grasp of the Vader.
Nothing. There's nothing. At this point, there's nothing that's enough to pull Vader back. Or to pull Anakin.
No, but but I do think he does state very clearly in the OT that, like, nope, you got to fucking kill him. Like, he doesn't say you got to redeem him. Like, so I agree. I think he just accepted that he can't do it. But I also think at this point, he thinks the solution is to kill Darth Vader.
Yeah, but he can't do it himself. So it's going to take this new champion to do that, to do what he was not ever able to do. And I think, one thing that I really did like, that I loved seeing, and Doug, you made a really, really good point about seeing the mental health of, because we just basically we've spent 40 years seeing this fun, swashbuckling, basically, and there's a price to be paid, and we're seeing that price through Obi-Wan. And I think that is why this series is important if you start peeling back the layers. You know, in this particular series, the one moment that really, really, really did it for me, that really kind of like drove home what we are about to experience, what we're getting with the Obi-Wan series, was when he met that other Jedi in the desert. And he was like, dude, just go. Just fucking give it up. It's over. We're done. We're out. Go bury your lightsaber in the desert and find someone cute to settle down with and raise some space camels and just be cool. Just be done with it. We're done. Broken. In that moment, he's just done. He is broken. He is a broken man. But again, he has come to accept the fact, reluctantly, that it's all done. It's all over, and all he can do now is protect the boy.
It's such a refreshing, like, to me, it's not even about like a good storytelling. You know, and the journey of mental health, I think, is good storytelling.
Sure.
And that's why it makes sense as entertainment. But we spent so long watching our heroes just be heroes, right? I mean, like, Marvel was the first to like really dive into like sorted backstories and redemption arcs, and but for so long our heroes are our heroes, and that's all we see. We only see them in their victories. So to see them at the point of their biggest defeat, to see that maybe not wanting to get out of bed today.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, there are days Obi-Wan didn't get out of bed, and he was still able to be Obi-Wan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, for me, it's just more about inclusion and accessibility for everyone to just see themselves reflected on the screen, and to know that, like, there's still, I'm getting emotional, Jesus Christ. There's still like greatness in here, like anyone, and you don't have to be a lightsaber swinging hero.
And now take that. Now, Doug, take that, what you're saying, and now apply it. Now that we've seen Kenobi, now apply everything that you just said to Vader in Return of the Jedi. When he comes back, when now he's showing us that it doesn't matter how far you've gone, you can come back. If someone loves you enough, you can come back. If you learn to love yourself enough and forgive yourself, you can come back. So now it all comes full circle. And I don't know if that was George's intention initially in the OT, but Kenobi, Doug, you had said this earlier, connected so many dots. It filled so many gaps. And you're talking about, and I'm getting goosebumps. We're talking about seeing ourselves reflected in Obi-Wan. We're just now in really able to talk about mental health in our culture, but especially with men, we're not allowed to talk about how fucked up we are and how sad we are, and we have to power through. But now we're seeing this powerful man, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's going through the same shit that I'm going through. He's dealing with depression and anxiety and PTSD. And as a veteran, seeing somebody on the big screen like this, dealing with things that I deal with, that is powerful. That is a big deal. And so I salute the writers and directors and producers and cast for taking it there and doing that, because, like you said, I mean, Moon Knight, man, I was triggered by Moon Knight, Moon Knight. So, but, and like you had said, we're seeing the flaws, and I don't even want to say the weaknesses, but we're seeing, the different levels of our heroes. And like you said, Marvel did that. We saw that with Tony Stark.
Absolutely.
Our superheroes are human. They are human beings, and we can relate to them. I can't relate to Batman. I can't relate to Superman. I can't relate to these people. But Marvel, you're fucking killing it. You're nailing it. Marvel.
I think that this show does a great job of, and I shared this meme in one of our group chats today. When you look at Obi-Wan Kenobi's life as a whole, he was the kid that was too old to join the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Who almost got kicked out because he wasn't strong enough, who found someone to give him a chance and let him find that home and that purpose. He watched that person die in front of him, raised the kid he never wanted, basically. That person person turned out to be his best friend, his blood brother, the person that he would die for most in this galaxy. During all of that, he's now going off to war where he is forced to basically push the tenets that he's learned as a Jedi to its limits. He loses the woman he loves, loses his best friend, watches the Order and everything he's ever known be taken away from him, knowing that he maybe could have stopped it. Maybe he could have done more. He's dealing with all of that, being alone in the galaxy, watching a little boy grow up who probably reminds him so much of his best friend. And throughout all of that, he never joins the dark side. He never, even in his darkest moments, he cannot go there. No. And that just shows a testament to Kenobi's character as a whole. And I love the fact that we got a hero's redemption without showing that a hero has to become a villain to be redeemed. Yeah. He was a villain to no one but himself. That was the only person he was a villain. Leia always saw him as someone to help. Even when she doubted him, it was only for a second. And the moment she said, okay, you're not lying, because obviously, you know, she has some reason to doubt anyone who wants to steal her anywhere at that point.
Of course.
But she saw who he could have been from the first moment. And he needed that. And it's so incredible to just watch a journey of someone who has literally just been through pain after pain. And that is honestly, we see Anakin's story up until this point, but it's as equal a story of Obi-Wan Kenobi up until this point.
Yeah. With Luke, we saw the quintessential hero's journey, you know, the textbook hero's journey with Luke. But what we're seeing with Obi-Wan, we're seeing our journey. You know, we're seeing our journey. You know, we are heroes in our own stories. We're heroes to our family. We're heroes to some of our friends, you know, maybe to strangers we're heroes, but we don't necessarily think of ourselves as that. And I never got that vibe from Obi-Wan that he ever considered himself to be a hero, you know, and in fact, he stumbled, he fell where a lesser person would have gone over to the dark side. You know, if we're looking at things from the simplest terms, and Star Wars does like to paint those absolutes, you know, he could have easily fallen to the dark side and didn't. Ventus, just like you said, you know, he stumbled, he fell, but how empowering is it to see him get back up, this Jedi misfit who becomes a hero, who becomes this pivotal person in the hero's journey that we will later see. Arguably, Obi-Wan is one of, if not the most important person in the saga.
I'm convinced that, like, up before the sequels existed, episodes 1 through 6, when they were the only ones existed, was the Skywalker and Kenobi saga. The two of them are so deeply intertwined. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, we get a lot more Skywalker than Kenobi in episodes 4 through 6, but they do not exist independently. We get a Kenobi in every single movie in some way, shape, or form.
But not on this level, not this deep.
Not on this level at all, but we do get them all. And I think they are just so equally important to the story. And maybe that's why I'm a little bitter against the sequels. I think that because they kind of left that and took us into a whole new direction, but try to say it was the same thing. Maybe that's where I lose it. But like for me, it is the Skywalker Kenobi saga episodes 1 through 6, everything that happens during that time frame.
Yeah.
Hey, and it's really interesting that.
Oh, sorry. There's something that you kind of helped me think of, Tommy. Everybody actually, is in being able to see ourselves as Kenobi. I mean, that is so true, and that's why this saga works, or this TV show works really well episodically rather than one big drop, is we get to watch Obi-Wan at his darkest, feeling ways that we would feel after big events in our life, but see how in each episode there's somebody who he's able to pay attention to just learn from. Be it in the first episode, like pieces of his past, Bail Organa, and then eventually Leia. Even the example of that one Jedi who kind of shows him that
I forget his name.
that like an example of why his
Benny
thinking,
Safdie.
Safdie, why he might not be a great example for him to continue his line of thinking. And then eventually Bail Organa, Leia, he's able to learn from those characters.
Mhm.
Then eventually Roken, Tala, and then eventually even Reva.
Yeah.
Can you, in your day-to-day, pay attention, even in your like darkest moments, routine of dark thoughts, pay attention to people who are trying to, or at least just by their example, pull you out of these moments to see like there's still a subtle, non-heroic hero's narrative that can pull you into a good line of thinking. I feel like that story tells, Kenobi shows an interesting line to where we can do that ourselves.
Yeah.
If we have the courage to do so, like Obi-Wan does by not going to the dark side.
And he has that because he has his duty, he has his obligation, and he knows how important this is. He knows how important the twins are, and he knows what's going to happen if the twins fall to the dark side. You know, so in some ways, in many ways, he's just as obsessed as Vader is. I mean, he's got the same level of passion that Vader has, but look at how he uses it, you know, and it just shows us that we all have that choice. We all have that choice. We can use our passion for good, or we can use it for evil. So Doug, you had something to say. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, this is just going back to the Kenobi Skywalker saga thing. You know, it's even more interesting when you look at it through the journey of someone who was sort of a runt of the litter when it came to becoming a Jedi, and someone who is like this preordained,
the chosen one.
20,000 midichlorians more powerful than Master Yoda. We see the two ends of that spectrum, and you know, ultimately power corrupts, which I think is interesting as well. But it's guys, Star Wars is fucking cool. Like,
it's so cool.
That's why we're here. Like, I don't know, man.
It's not. It's like the beautiful thing about Star Wars to me is that it's whatever you want it to be. It can be as simple as this space opera, this, you know, cowboys and samurais in space. It's just a fun sci-fi popcorn type action sort of thing, franchise. It can be that thing for you. Or if you start dissecting it, you know, you start seeing, you know, the different layers of art, you know, that are in this. You know, Doug, like what you just said, it kind of made me think about something as well. You know, when, like you said, you're seeing Obi-Wan, where he came from, how he came up, versus, you know, the guy with all the midichlorians, and Obi-Wan still comes out on top. You know, he still, in many ways, has defeated Vader multiple times on multiple different levels, not just physically in combat, but, you know, intellectually, and I would say even spiritually, if we're talking about the Force in that way. You know, he has a mastery of the Force, Obi-Wan does, that goes beyond the brute power that Anakin Vader has always exhibited. You know, and here he was on his way to the aggro core, you know, because he was weak. But it turns out, no, he wasn't. So it doesn't matter where you come from. You could have the best upbringing in the world, have all the midichlorians, and still fail. Or you could start at the bottom in the dirt and rise to greatness. It's just all depends on your choices and what you decide to do with it.
At its core, the original 6 movies, especially, I don't mean to exclude the sequels just because they're so different is why the reason I'm including them. It's a love story. And I don't mean that between a man and a woman or two people or anything like that. I mean it that you see every facet of love. Yeah. You get to see brotherly love. You get to see romantic love. You get to see the love of your community, the love for a little sister, the love for your squadron, the love for your country, for your religion. Yeah. It shows us all the different types of love, the good and the bad of it. We see the love that Obi-Wan had for Anakin is good love. The love that Anakin had for Padme is a little bit toxic. Yeah. And we see how, even though Anakin had good love for Obi-Wan, he had good love for Ahsoka, how that toxicity leaks in. We see how little things deal with it. But at the end of the day, we see the love of Beru and Owen. We see the Emperor's love for power. It is a story of many different characters and what they love and how that affects the galaxy. And it really, if you look at it that way, it kind of makes you consider, what do I love? What am I focusing on? What is it that I'm pouring all of my heart's energy into? And how is that affecting the world? Because if you look at Star Wars through that way, it can open your mind to just like, it connects your own world to it in a little bit of a way, because everyone is doing something that they love.
Yeah.
They're fighting for things they love, things they believe in. But very few of us are looking to see how that love and that belief affects beyond what we want.
That's a
and
great
Star Wars
point.
shows us that.
That is a great point. Like you, and even what you said about Palpatine, you know, his love for power, you could probably argue that it's a lust for power, but the levels, you know, the things that he's willing to do for power, that is love. You know, it's a twisted love that's, you know, perverted by the dark side, but it's love nonetheless. But like you said, you know, we get to see good, healthy love, and we get to see the results of toxic love. You know, and Anakin didn't have any examples of healthy romantic love, you know, so he was, you know, when he was always kind of mired in fear and jealousy and regret. So of course, those things, like you said, that leached into his idea of love, you know, that, you know, he came up toxic, you know, and the Jedi did nothing to try to remove that toxicity. They just kind of fed it. And then, so when he was met with this opportunity to have like romantic love, it's hard for him to do that, you know?
And you know what I would have loved as a viewer, at least what I would have loved in the moment? I would have loved Obi-Wan to make the final strike on Anakin. Now, is that what is right? No, because whenever you're watching any battle, all you are is just some like single brain cell like viewer in a gladiatorial arena saying like go
thumbs up or thumbs down, right? That's it. There is no
the most beautiful woman on this planet is my mother. She is a gardener. No, not physically, but she like character wise, you
can come hang out here. I got an extra spot on the couch.
She will advocate this. She will advocate for peace and prosperity for all of life's degenerates.
Carol is pretty great.
That is my mother. But in movies, she turns into kill that motherfucker, put a dagger through his eyeball. You know, kind of a person. And that's what I thought logically should happen at the end of the Obi-Wan Anakin duel. End it. But like,
and your wife is beautiful because
we could go into so many reasons.
We don't have enough time. He has a list prepared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He emailed it to me earlier today.
To say, the more I stepped back and recognized why Obi-Wan leaving Anakin just defeated at the end of that duel, having established that only in recognizing that victory in that moment was only just neutralizing a bad force. Victory wasn't squashing it. Victory wasn't eliminating it, dominating it. It was just neutralizing it and establishing that good saves the day. Enough. And I can do it again. You know, it's just that propaganda and like that seed of knowledge of I could do this again.
Can we dive into that? Like, just Aaron took us there.
We're already an hour in, and we have been so derailed, but it's been fun. We've had a good time.
This is a good one.
This is the last episode. Like,
we gotta go. Yeah, we gotta go all in. But let's talk about that, because that's something that you get a lot of criticism. And then, Aaron, this is going back to what you said about what you wanted to see. You know, what you felt that you would have liked to see, or what you would have liked to do. So let's look at, because that's where a lot of criticism comes from. A lot of criticism online comes from, well, why didn't Obi-Wan kill him? You know, obviously, of course, we know why that couldn't happen, because there would never have been an original trilogy. So, but you know, why did Vader, you know, take off in a shuttle and not have his Star Destroyer chase the rebels down. You know, and it goes to one thing and one thing only. It's not about what we would do. It's about what the character would do.
Yes,
there you go.
Agreed.
You know,
Thank you.
so Obi-Wan did Obi-Wan Kenobi shit. Vader did Vader shit. Those are the things that were established.
That's the t-shirt right there. Obi-Wan did Obi-Wan Kenobi shit. And then the back is Vader did Vader shit.
All right, I'll get it up. I'll get it up on the website.
Yep.
circleofnerds.com/merch for all of your fine nerdy goodness. If you are an Obi-Wan Kenobi fan, circleofnerds.com/merch.
I wore the wrong shirt. I'm such a dumbass.
For the Obi fans, the exclusive Obi fans shirt. I mean, we've got time. You can always go run and put it back on and plug it. I mean, because Doug's about to talk about something. Go, girl, hurry up. All right.
Look, man, I was just going to say that, like, how did you know I was going to talk about something brilliant?
It's my job.
The whole Kenobi does Kenobi shit, Vader does Vader shit. What was right before that? Anyways, when he leaves him, right?
Yeah,
it's reasonable to believe that when he leaves him in episode 3, he's like, this motherfucker's toast. I'm not going to kill him.
Literally toast.
He is dead, right?
Yeah.
I can't kill him, but he is dead.
Yeah.
There's no way he's going to survive that. That was what he's thinking in that moment. In this one, I think he knows he's going to survive. And I think he can't even go that one extra step and like leave him abandoned. He's like, all right, your ship's right there, bro. Like,
but what are you gonna, and what are you gonna do with him at that point? I'd like to hear something from, we've got some viewers. I'm curious to know what everyone thinks. Like, what else could Obi-Wan have done in that moment other than walk away? I'm talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, not what you would do, not what I would do. Like Obi-Wan is not going to kill Vader. So what other options does he have in that moment?
He has the option of patience, and that's what he does. Obi-Wan he's Job, man.
Yeah.
He's and not that I ever want to make a fucking biblical reference. But
there it is.
Like he's just there it is. We did it.
So if you are an Obi-Wan Kenobi fan, and if you'd like to share your love of Obi-Wan with the world, head on over to circleofnerds.com/merch and pick up this awesome exclusive Circle of Nerds Obi fans t-shirt. We've got it on hoodies. We've got stickers.
Reference. Ask your parents.
No, don't ask your parents.
Oh, don't do that.
Because really, if your parents are hanging out on Obi or on OnlyFans, then
OnlyFans.
Hey, they got to get their jollies too.
ObiFans is where we have Aaron put on his Obi-Wan cosplay and pose sexually. Yes.
No, I just talk, therapeutically.
So then what am I spending $15.99 a month on for premium content?
In the comments, type how much a month you'd be willing to pay to see Aaron dress up as a sexy Obi-Wan.
Now we figured it out.
Market research.
Crack the code.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I'll put it out there. $19.99, buddy. I'm willing. I'll go higher. I mean, if you want to do like a pay-per-view type subscription.
Oh yeah, it'll be a monthly subscription. You can pay extra for your own personal time with Daddy Kenobi, Daddy Wan Kenobi.
Do you do saber ratings? I know that. Do you do saber ratings?
I don't even know what that means.
You know what it means.
Do I know what that means?
You know what it means.
I mean, well,
I don't know what it means.
For some of the kids out there who might not know. So, on OnlyFans, from what I understand, from what I've gathered from reading Newsweek and the New Yorker, there will be certain individuals on OnlyFans. They will do member ratings. They will if you send a photo of your member.
Why didn't I think of that?
They will rate it. So
as his manager / pimp, he will do it only if you commit to painting said member like a lightsaber.
Yeah, of course you'd buy that for just $1. That is the correct answer.
Oh, Tony's right. We did it. We were doing so well talking about mental health.
And always, not always. We've been really good lately.
Yeah, we had a great discussion going
into Star Wars and dicks. But someday someday from Circle of Nerds, you're going to get that show or a segment, Star Wars and Dicks, because it always comes back to that.
Can the show be called Star Wars and Dicks, and that'd be the two things we're not allowed to talk about?
I love that, actually. I love that. I love that a lot. Like, and like Blurred's Eye. Hey, what's up, Blurred's Eye? The look on Aaron's face when you mentioned saber ratings.
It's because he knows his mother might be watching, and he's like,
Oh,
absolutely
right, yeah.
not.
I don't know what that means.
I
don't know
love
why I didn't
love
think
the idea about painting your member to look like a saber.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of. Like, paint your dick like bright blue. All right.
Glow in the dark.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, if it's glow in the dark, and I don't even see it like.
Just use a black light. Oh my God, what happened?
All right. If anyone wants to do that, find me on Instagram. I'll send you a link to email Aaron. Your
Yeah, make sure to cover the bell end because like that makes it more fun.
Well, I mean, we do have an OnlyFans account, so Circle of Nerds is on OnlyFans. We just don't have any content there currently. However, after tonight, that may change. So head on over to onlyfans.com/Circle of Nerds.
Does your saber curve to the left? Does it curve to the right? Let us know on ObiFans.
Oh my God. Anyways,
I was actually looking around for a red
about,
Sharpie right now, too. I don't
I
know.
assume when I went to change, we were talking about the whole Obi-Wan not killing Anakin
Yeah.
thing.
We did.
We
kinda-
sure were talking about that, but
Well, can I dive back in?
Yes,
And,
Please. Yes,
God
please.
damn.
if this
Bring
is
us
what you
back.
guys already mentioned, just yell at me. But I see two reasons.
We already talked about that.
Shut up. Two reasons why Obi-Wan could not and would not kill Anakin / Vader. And I think it's important to say both because I don't think Obi-Wan, oh my God, I
Katie, when I
don't
get
think
these short-
Obi-Wan sees it as either as just a single person. I think we have to remember is Obi-Wan has never and would never kill Anakin Skywalker. And in that moment, he was looking literally in Anakin Skywalker's eyes.
Yeah.
The same eyes, even though they were Sith eyes, they were the same eyes that he left on Mustafar after that battle. And that is, we saw the change in Obi-Wan's demeanor the second he saw Anakin's face. Vader was no longer, and he went after Vader lethally.
He did.
He did not hold back. So there was never an intention of holding back.
Mm-mm.
But once he saw Anakin's face behind the mask, that love again that he had for Anakin, that took over because that is who Obi-Wan is at his core. He loves Anakin. He cannot hurt him.
No.
The other side of that is who else Obi-Wan is at his core. He is a Jedi. He was not I think we can all agree he was not a Jedi in episode 1. He didn't know who he was in episode 1.
No. He was a
And
Padawan. He didn't know anything yet.
he was so lost. And we see by episode 6, he has accepted and finally kind of taken. I think he's like 2 steps away basically at that point from becoming from Qui-Gon realizing himself to him. And so we see that he is a Jedi, and a Jedi does not kill out of anger. A Jedi strives not to kill at all. A Jedi strives to end conflict and bring peace. We even see that in episode 3. Anakin tells Mace Windu, do not kill the Emperor, not because I love him. He does eventually say I need him, but his first thing he says is, it's not right. He deserves a trial. That is the Jedi way.
Right.
And Obi-Wan's a Jedi. And so he cannot kill Vader. Vader is at this point an unarmed, weakened opponent. It would be murder to kill him.
Right.
That is not the Jedi way. He cannot arrest Vader. Vader is basically the head of the police.
Who's going to try him? Where are you going to take him?
To bring him to Mr. Emperor, I caught Vader. So he can't do anything. He can't kill him. He can't arrest him. He has no choice but to walk away. And again, we all look at it with 20/20 vision, like we're reading a history book, being like, well, if he had killed him, then Alderaan wouldn't have blown up. Yeah, we understand that not killing Vader and Anakin had implications.
Yeah.
That's not the point of the discussion. We have to pretend like we don't know what was going to happen. And that's what we see. And whether or not we as characters think we're so badass that we wouldn't be affected by our feelings, blah, 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 like we would be. And we get to see that because our heroes are real and they are fallible.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And they have emotions. And guess what? The best heroes are still going to be driven by emotions at some point. And we see that. The emotion he is driven by is love, and that love for his order and the love for Anakin.
And they show that vulnerability. You know, our
Exactly.
heroes have multiple layers. They have facets. They have vulnerability.
Our heroes are not always going to do the thing that will save the day. And that's not what Obi-Wan does here. But at the end, he does do the right thing by the Jedi Order.
Yeah. And in fact, Obi-Wan doesn't save the day. He makes the galaxy just a bit worse by not killing Vader, but he does the right thing. Doug, what were you going to say?
And in saving Vader, if we really want to be those people who like look to the OT, in saving Vader and Anakin, he then gives Luke what Luke will eventually need to kill the Emperor. Luke and Anakin have to come together to kill the Emperor.
And then the prophecy is fulfilled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have also to remember too, I promise I won't go too long on this. The Force is not a passive entity.
No.
The Force is constantly trying to keep itself in balance. And it will do that by swaying the edge of different fights and here and there. That is what the Force does. So it's not just that these characters are going by what they want to. The Force is also in every single interaction.
It guides them. It
Force
surrounds
could not
us.
let Vader die. If Vader died, there would be no one in the galaxy left to oppose the Emperor. He knew that Vader was there, but Vader would also need someone else. He needed both of them together. So if you think, and maybe people will be like, oh, that's so cheap to say the Force was there. The Force was there in that moment. The Force also guided Obi-Wan and what he needed to do.
Doug, you're absolutely right, Vengeance. Doug, you're going to say something.
I agree. Most of what I was going to say was exactly that. Like, he practiced patience. He leaned on his learnings. He ascended, I think, in that moment. You know, there's no rank really above master except for whatever Yoda was, the super master. The fuck was Yoda's title? Jesus.
Grandmaster?
I don't know if I think it was just kind of master, right?
No.
He's just
but he had like a title on the council. Like, he ruled
Right.
over
I think
the
it's a
council.
grandmaster.
Okay.
Whatever. Anyways, that's not my point. But like, that was his ascendancy. That was his ultimate test as a Jedi. And he knew, they've known since the end of episode 3 that these two children are a part of this, a big part of this. And if he ended Vader right then and there, everything that he was brought to believe in his kind of dogmatic cult would have crumbled around him. He already had that crumble around him once. Like, he had to trust in what he knew. It was really fucking poignant, and that whole fight was great. It was one of my favorite lightsaber battles. I still don't think it replaces Mustafar for me, but it might be number 2 on my list of lightsaber battles.
Like it's real close.
Real close.
Yeah, and I mean, just the way that they used the Force within the planet itself, the earth bending we've referred to before. I have read a Reddit theory that, based on the geography, topography of the planet and its proximity to Jabim, and the ship's lack of hyper speed, that it was Malachor 5. And if that is true, it has not been confirmed. But if that is something that were ever to be confirmed, there's an even more brilliant poetry between Obi-Wan and Vader fighting on Malachor 5, and not 5 years later, maybe 6 years later, whatever the math is, Ahsoka and Vader fighting on Malachor 5.
Yeah.
The choreography was similar. The opposite ends of the mask fell off. They talked to two different sides of Anakin Vader. I firmly believe that. I think that Ahsoka, for a good chunk of that, was speaking with Anakin, was communing with Anakin. He was on the brink. Obi-Wan didn't get anywhere near that close.
Yeah,
speaking with
no, but look look
and
at
it was just the way that the mask was broken.
Right.
And then it was Luke who was
really
able to take the whole mask.
took the whole thing off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
look at the relationship between Vader and Obi-Wan versus Vader and Ahsoka. Vader had nothing left in his heart for Obi-Wan other than hatred. There was nothing. There was no hatred in Vader for Ahsoka. So
Well, in his mind, Obi-Wan failed Anakin.
Right.
In Anakin's mind, he failed Ahsoka.
Right. So there's regret and pity and remorse. There's still all these dark side emotions and feelings in Vader towards Ahsoka, but there's still nothing but love there. But again, it's the dark side of love, you know, and that dark side of love is it does come into hate. And Anthony's mentioned here there are parallels to Batman Joker argument that by refusing to kill him, he takes some responsibility for the things that Vader does. And I could see that. I can see that.
I have a question for everyone else in the room but me. I saw it. We've heard of the balance of the Force. Check our last episode. We talk about that.
We did. We talked about that, the two lightsabers. So check out.
We went into that in depth.
In depth. So please check that out. And thank you for the comment.
Yes.
Subscribe if you're not already, please.
So we've heard, I mentioned briefly about like the Force kind of being involved. I've literally up until this past week have always thought of the balance of the Force of an equal part of the dark and the light kind of a thing. But I actually recently saw it explained that the Force in its balance is actually the absence of the dark side. The reason being that those who use the Force through the light side are allowing the Force to guide them. The Force is allowed to behave naturally through them. The Force is not being controlled. Whereas dark side users are bending the Force to their will and they are contorting it. So in trying to create balance, the Force is actually not trying to create an equal amount of light and dark side. It is, in fact, trying to remove the dark side. And I feel like in recent years, it's been when we thought balance of the Force after episode 6, it was cool. Dark side's gotten rid of. Balance has been restored. But it almost seems like that narrative has slightly been twisted a little bit or kind of almost interpreted differently after that point. Am I correct? Because I thought that it was
the prequels, I feel like the buzz around the prequels, especially at the end of like Revenge of the Sith, or maybe even the whole time, was like, how can the Force be in balance if there's thousands of Jedi and no Sith? Like that, you know, light and dark. And that, you know, it's this, I'm going to talk about Lost for the second time in 2 weeks. This is wild. But it's the whole backgammon analogy of Lost with John Locke in the first. Anyways, it's like literally the pilot, I think. One side light, one side dark. But I think, the like general consensus among fans became like, well, there have to be an even amount of both. And I've always thought like OT style, like, no, like there's balance when the darkness is gone. Maybe not as in depth as the way you described it, but that's how I interpreted it. And I would have arguments about this, like as the prequels were coming out in high school, and I think it was all in high school. Anyways,
did the prequels kind of retcon that OT thing with Rey having the yellow lightsaber? Because if I don't know if it's Legends or canon at this point, but isn't a yellow lightsaber supposed to be that person who's like perfectly balanced in between the light and the dark? Or you know what I mean? I don't know if
I don't know near enough about lightsabers to be able
there's like the Sentinels. I think the Sentinels, the Force, the Jedi.
Yeah.
It's still, I think yellow is still a Jedi thing. I thought, and I don't think it's canon anymore, but it's the white saber. I thought that the white blade shows
I'll look it up.
That balance. Although people do theorize that but Mace, the reason that his lightsaber was purple was because it's the red and the blue. But I think that's just
he never actually dips into the dark side. What he does is he basically
he flirts with it a little bit.
Dark side.
But he doesn't.
He reflects the dark side upon itself in the way that he fights. He never actually utilizes it.
It's his vapid style, the vapid form that he uses, but he flirts with it. He allows,
he flirts with it, but he has never crossed the line.
He doesn't.
He gets closer than any other Jedi would be willing to, which is why it's a style that's not taught to, like, except for like maybe one or two people in the history of him using it.
Yeah, not a lot of people have messed with that. So Brent said white is a redeemed red crystal, and purple is balance. So, but I do think that, and I think it all depends too on how we take this, because if we look at the source, which is George, he draws a lot on samurai culture, Bushido and, the way of the sword and things like that. And, when you have, and then if you start talking about Buddhism, there's the balance, there's the middle path in Buddhism, where it's like, you don't descend into poverty, but you also don't lead this wealthy, gluttonous life. You find that middle ground, between the two sides. It's that yin and that yang. So I think from George's point of view, there is the light side and the dark side. There is good and there is evil. There has to be one. You can't have one without the other. You can't know good without the evil, and vice versa. I think, but that's very, very, I don't want to say it's cheap, because it's not cheap. It's the hero's journey. That's what it is. That is the mythology of the hero's journey. You've got the good guys, you got the bad guys. There's the guy wearing the black hat, the guy wearing the white hat. And there always has to be an antagonist for our protagonist. If not, then where's the story? There's got to be, our hero needs something to overcome. And that usually comes in the form of evil in some way. So I think on George's level, there is very much a light side and a dark side. And the balance comes from having the two of them. There has to be that. But by having 10,000 Jedi and 2 Sith, that's the very, that's the boiled down version of, the galaxy being out of balance.
Right. That kind of goes with what what's his name, Freddie Prinze Jr. had said, because he worked with George Lucas, obviously, when creating the Rebels series. And George Lucas had basically said there always has to be an equal amount. So if you look at how much one side is controlling the other, you can kind of predict who would win.
Right.
Mace doesn't suffer, motherfuckers.
David Carter says, what I'm hearing is Mace
David
doesn't
Carter fucking gets it.
Yeah, right.
I think what's like the discussion seems to be what is the Force and what is the lesson.
Yeah.
And the lesson that I feel like Star Wars does teach us is that if you have extreme protagonists and extreme antagonists, it's probably more sensible for us in our regular life to learn the lessons that each learns in why they fail, so that we will have a more successful life. Is that the way the Force works? I think that might be the different discussion.
Yeah. But I think we've grown. I think Star Wars has grown.
Why we learn a lesson from this.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not wrong at all. But George had a very simplistic view of things. It was just that story. It was just meant to be that story. But I think now, and especially with the Kenobi series, Star Wars has matured, to where, like you were saying, balance comes from maybe the dark side not being around. Maybe it's learning to live with both, or embracing both, or, I think that, again, layers. There's just layers. There's so many different ways we can take the story. Doug?
It was definitely, as a series, I think the most mature Star Wars content we've received since probably Rogue One.
PG.
Like it was, yeah, it was very, there were moments that were difficult to face as an audience member, but I really, I like the way they brought them to light. It's interesting, I think about my kids and my daughter loves Star Wars. She hasn't dived into the animated stuff yet. My sons kind of watch it reluctantly when I do. I'm really interested to kind of see where this show falls on their spectrum and when I would want to introduce it to them, and
right.
But Anyways, it's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
I know
Wars is
we've
cool.
gone 30,000 minutes over.
We're at an hour 24, and I want to cover one more thing before we get out. But V, what do you have? And one question
I really
for
quickly would love to talk about Reva if we have the time.
Yeah, we can talk about Reva.
Okay.
I just have one question, and we can address the question quickly if you'd like. I mean, it depends on you guys.
Mhm.
So we know that throughout the series, Obi-Wan had this blockage. You know, he was not able to commune with Qui-Gon. What was the moment? Was there a moment where something released that blockage, allowing him to finally, because Qui-Gon said, I was here the whole time, but Obi-Wan wasn't able to get past something. Was it a thing? Was there a turning point? Was there a moment that you think Obi-Wan encountered that caused that blockage to be released? Or was it the entire journey itself?
I have a strong opinion.
Yes, please.
I think that he had an attachment. I think he was so attached to Anakin and the idea of Anakin. Maybe he even knew that Anakin was already Vader. I mean, I guess he didn't. We saw Reva tell him, so never mind. But he knew Anakin still was out there, right? He, I guess he cut himself off. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But what I'm trying to say is he had to. Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah.
to,
Anthony says his acceptance that Anakin turning wasn't his fault, letting go of that guilt.
Yes, and that was the only thing that could allow him to really find the Force in its full effect again. I think that's more of like riding a bicycle. Like he's now back to being Jedi Master Obi-Wan. Let's go. He's on his EOP. If he couldn't sever that attachment, he would never have been able to fully find his own personal balance in the Force.
Right. Ventures, Aaron, what do you guys think?
I think that probably the right and obvious answer is letting go of Anakin. But I'm going to take it to the moment where he was buried by Malachor 5, where he was looking at
make it canon,
the serenity in what Leia represented for the universe, how she was the model balance of passion and wisdom. And for that purity of an experience of witnessing her, that connected to why the suffering was worth it. And that unlocked his ability to then detach from Anakin, or at least present his weakness to Anakin, in that, and then eventually let go of his responsibility to Luke. So I think Leia plays. I may not have been able to voice it well enough, but the role that Leia plays in Obi-Wan's ability to find his strength, is pivotal.
V?
I think for me, this is the perfect question for me, based on what I was asking us to talk about. I think for me, it is honestly the moment that he had with Reva after she chose not to kill Luke. I think that Obi-Wan has always wished he had the time and the opportunity to counsel Anakin, which he never got. As we see in episode 3, he says, I'm proud of you. You've done great. You'll be a master. Peace out. I'm going to Utapau. And the next time they meet is in Mustafar.
Right.
And Anakin is so full of rage at that point. He never has a moment to connect with him and break through that wall. Whereas we see Reva is looking for that, which Anakin was at one point, but Obi-Wan gets there too late. I think with Reva, we see what would have happened to Anakin if Obi-Wan had been able to intervene a little bit earlier.
Yeah. So a little redemption for Obi-Wan.
Yes.
A little alleviation of some of the guilt.
And I think for him, that ability to understand Reva and why she did what she did, to not condemn her, to not tell her she was wrong, to not say you were a villain, all he does is say, you are not the thing you feared. You are free. He doesn't sit there and say, you did bad things. You're a bad person. He basically just says, it's okay. You have the rest of your life to do whatever you need to do, whether that is making up for what you've done in some way or just, moving past it. And I think at that moment, that is where we see teacher Obi-Wan, master Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan has not gotten to be a Jedi master to Anakin since before the Clone Wars, if we think about it.
Right.
Because basically, if we actually think about it, Anakin really did not receive any Jedi training from the moment the Clone Wars started until he became Darth Vader.
It was just go, 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 go. Like the whole time.
Obi-Wan
like
wasn't a teacher.
No.
Obi-Wan wasn't a teacher at that point, and that's what he should have been the whole time.
But he couldn't have been. I mean,
I
the
don't think
circumstances.
Obi-Wan ever had the experience in his own life where he could balance what Anakin was bringing to the situation, which if I might try to illustrate my point a little bit better, finally with just the existence of Leia, the pain, the anguish, the failure that Obi-Wan would have felt did turn into something that was so beautiful. And if Obi-Wan can learn from Leia's experience, or at least just her example and what she can teach him, that like pain, anguish, something horrible can turn into something so beautiful, which allowed him to become the teacher, to be able to like teach the lesson that he was able to give to Reva, which was why he was able to summon the serenity for power to overcome Anakin and just to neutralize him and to be the person that Anakin probably always needed him to be. That would have been experience would have allowed Anakin to be something totally different.
So basically, Obi-Wan said it's okay to not be okay.
Exactly.
That's what he's telling him.
I do think that had it not been for the Clone Wars, we would have seen that Obi-Wan, because we know that through it's now canon in Clone Wars that Obi-Wan knew about Padme, and he never turned Anakin in, but he really didn't do anything with it, because where was the time? They were both either off on a mission together or off on a mission separately, or Anakin was having to train Ahsoka, or like he never had that time to really break through those walls in that significant era, because literally Anakin, the Clone Wars start, Anakin gets married, everything else happens.
And that was Palpatine. That was Palpatine making sure that the two of them came together to become this legendary duo, but they were never together long enough or had the time to train. And that's exactly what Palpatine wanted. Palpatine did not want Anakin to get the proper Jedi training, because then Palpatine himself would not be able to properly train Anakin.
Anakin's training literally came on the battlefield. He grew his skills as a fighter, as a warrior, not as a Jedi.
Right. And it was all anger, it was all hate, it was everything.
In training Ahsoka, and we see that in him saying, you're blinded by your feelings, but he's at that point just repeating stuff because he feels similarly, but he knows he needs to be better than, so he's repeating what he's heard. And so we kind of see that, and I'm going to steal 3 minutes to talk about Reva, because god damn it, we need to do it. The girl just fucking deserves it. That the character has gotten so much hate, and I will say this is one thing that her character would have benefited 100% from a full season drop. I think more than anything else in the series, her character would have benefited from that. But I love her character so much because everything she did, again, was from a place of love.
Yeah.
She was, like every other Jedi initiate, taken from her family at months old and raised away from them. Her entire family were the Padawan. She was raised, those were her brothers and her sisters.
Yeah.
Her Jedi teachers were her parents. So it wasn't just some master who died saving her. It was a mother to her. That was all she had for a mother. The people around her was all she had for a family, and they died. And she literally aligned herself with the person who killed them out of love for them.
Mhm.
She committed atrocities because she was so upset, and that upsetness led to anger, which allowed her to do those things. And we see that she has anger towards Anakin because she saw Anakin do these terrible things. But she also has anger to people like Obi-Wan, who in her mind didn't do it, weren't there to protect her in whatever way. Either they didn't stop Anakin when they could have, or they weren't at the temple to protect them. She has so much anger inside of her, and it's so twisted, but it all comes from a place of love. And we see that is what drives her. If you look at her face, watch the series knowing at the end what her like goals are, where her just driving her, she doesn't want to hurt Leia.
No, we saw that during the torture
Leia in that freaking torture chamber the first second she got her.
Yeah.
She tries to connect with her. She tries to reach with her. Even in that chamber herself, you see her just trying to be like, what else can I ask her that will make me not have to push this button?
And she's frantic. She yells. She was like, tell me something. You know, she's begging. She's begging Leia.
Begging.
Then you've made this choice for yourself.
She is begging Leia. She's
She's
doing everything she can. She trusts Obi-Wan again. And you see when she touches the Jedi Order symbol on the wall of the path,
she felt that.
She felt that. And she is so hurt. And you hear it in her voice when she is confronting Obi-Wan, because this is the first person in a decade she can voice this hurt to. When
so
they are
powerful.
speaking through that wall, it is one of the most painful experiences.
Yeah.
She has not been able to talk about this for a decade. And then all of that accumulates into her being utterly humiliated by the person that she has committed atrocities for 10 years to try and kill. And he humiliates her and doesn't even give her the dignity of giving her an actual lightsaber duel. And then gets to it, and you think, my God, this girl has to be just down the darkest path. But even still, she can't go as dark as Anakin, which shows you just how dark a path Anakin was down.
Right.
That even after seeing all of this, which I think that Reva's villain arc is better shown than Anakin's, personally. A little. That's just my personal opinion. And we see that even at that point, she cannot become the thing that she was initially devoted to fight against.
Right.
So when she breaks down and says, have I become him? That is her worst fear, because she's now that same little Padawan girl who said, I will not become the Sith.
And looking at Obi-Wan as that guide, that mentor, that Jedi master who's going to try to get her, to have some insight.
Obi-Wan is finally the hero she wanted him to be in that moment. And I think if you look at her story, exactly. And if you look at her story, it is so beautiful and painful to see how much was robbed of her and how much what she was doing everything for, and what she wasn't willing to do, and what she tried to push herself to but couldn't. Her story is so painful and so beautiful. And people got lost in the fact that, well, I don't know what she's doing it for. I'm like, my God, wait for the story to play out before you make up your mind.
Yeah, like Doug said, just watch the show. Just watch the show. Just wait for it to play out.
I love my wife more than anything on the planet. I sincerely do. I love my wife.
But
she is constantly asking me for spoilers on shit, and I'm like, just watch it.
Let it ride out. Just let it
be a journey. And here's we all had high expectations for Book of Boba Fett, and it fell flat. I still think there was merit to that series. I still enjoyed a lot of aspects of that series. This was such a quality bounce back that, and maybe that is it. Maybe it's inflating it even more in my mind. But we saw an actual, a tangible journey, and I feel like we haven't seen that since Rebels.
Yeah.
I haven't watched much of the Resistance yet. I'm hoping it's good, but but Rebels is the last time, and I Rebels might be my favorite piece of Star Wars ever. But Rebels would not be what it is without the prequels and the Clone Wars and the OT. We need to know all of these things. But anyways, just watch the show before you get all worked
you have
up.
A great
just
point
watch
there,
it.
Doug. And I think that what a lot of people forget is it is the Star Wars universe. Every bit of Star Wars content, whether you like it or not, because again, Star Wars is a restaurant. You have the things you like in your order and the things you don't like.
Right.
It's what it is. It is the Star Wars universe. And in some way, shape, or form, everything they have created and handed to us has value. And if you look at it as an entire universe, you get to see how that value like culminates into something absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at just the little microcosm of what you like, it's like, but like
you're missing out. You're missing out.
I have watched, and honestly, as we've had these discussions, I have grown more appreciation for the sequels. Do I love them? No. But I have grown more appreciation for the overall story they told, especially with some of the comparisons.
Well, you're getting a different understanding. You're getting different insights, and like, look at, like, I'm going to go, like, this weekend, I'm going to rewatch the original trilogy coming off of Kenobi, because now watching the original trilogy through the lens of Kenobi, it's going to be a brand new trilogy.
Can I just say the amount of TikToks I have seen that have informed me and just broken my heart, realizing that after the Kenobi series at this point, who knows if they'll do whatever seasons or whatever, but I'm assuming we'll never see Kenobi interact with the Skywalker twins again until A New Hope. And he literally is fighting Vader, holding Vader off until he sees the twins together. At which point he says, they are together. They will be okay. The galaxy will be okay.
My job is done.
He accepts death.
Yeah. I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine, Darth.
Because he knows he will then be able to guide Luke and Leia in any of their journeys. And
no more hiding. He doesn't have to hide. He's just with them now. Right?
That alone, like the way that this series fed into that moment alone, I mean, I'm sure both of you have seen the cuts before of Obi-Wan's what he's talking to Luke in his cave.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew your father. He was the best Jedi. He was the best pilot, blah, 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 blah. And they cut it with like cuts of the prequels, and it's already painful enough. Cut it with this.
With Kenobi, yeah.
Add it with the moment where he says, your father was killed by Vader, and it has that moment from Kenobi. Dear God.
That's what I'm saying. Rewatch the trilogy now that you've watched this, and it's going to be a completely different thing.
I'm so glad my therapist canceled my appointment today because she was sick. Between America and the last Kenobi episode, she was like, how you doing? I would have been like, girl, how much time you got?
We can't talk about America on this show. That's a whole other fucking thing. Oh my God. So right now, what I'm thinking is with Kenobi, with the way that this all is going to play out, it just, again, it is I can't make words, because it's just Kenobi, in my opinion, the reason that it works as well as it does, this is, apart from probably Rebels, this is the most emotional content that we have ever had in Star Wars. And I think that's why it threw a lot of people off, because we've never been given anything like this. We've never even been presented with anything even close. There's been moments, there's little tear-jerking moments here and there throughout the entire franchise, but never before, aside from Rebels, have we, I'll just say live action, never before in live action has emotion been the focal point. We've not seen that. So for, certain fans, I can understand why they're like, the fuck is this? Because you're not used to it. You're not accustomed to getting that from Star Wars. You're used to getting very simple, easy to digest. This is not easy to digest. Kenobi it is this vast mosaic of multiple emotions and different layers, and there is no, except for even Vader, as I say, there is no, discerning between light and dark. Everybody's all over the place, really, except for Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is He's the light side. He is the constant, but he's living in the dark. You know, he's got his own personal darkness, but it's not the dark side.
Tommy, you just broke my heart. I just realized something in what you said.
What?
So with Obi-Wan living in the dark, he is essentially the light in the dark, right? What does he tell Leia when she asks what's the Force is like? What is it like when you're in the dark and you see the light?
Yeah.
And she's like, I feel safe. Who does she feel safe with?
Right.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, literally the light in her dark. Cool. I'm fine.
Yeah.
God damn it.
No, it's okay.
Ah!
I mean, dude, just embrace the feels, though.
Embrace the feels. Hold on, we got it. I mean, let me get to the viewers here real quick. So Tony says, I agree with everything, all of these points, except I think dropping the season all at once would have hurt the story without giving us time to absorb it and understand it. I can see that.
I think it would have hurt the overall story. I just think it would have shut the Reva critics up.
Yeah, I agree. I
agree. I still love the way it was dropped personally. I just think it would have shut the Reva critics up.
I agree.
Had it been all at once, because then they couldn't be like, what's the point of her? Like, what, did you finish it? Like
right
that.
now, just finish it. Utah says they purposely made Book of Boba bad to set the bar so low. Yeah. Kenobi was going to be praised no matter what.
Why else would it be so offensively terrible?
Right. And also he feels the same thing that we feel. The last thing that Obi-Wan sees is the Skywalker twins together after 19 years. Go back and watch. Just if you have time tonight, ladies and gentlemen, go back and watch Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, and see if that shit doesn't hit different. I promise you it's going to hit different. And then finally, Brent says, V, stop. I'm going to cry now.
Tommy, I'm going to ask the same question of Doug when he comes back. But I think Doug, you're back. Perfect.
There he is. There he is.
I hear everything.
My
but you
question,
couldn't hear me.
and whether this is the final question of the night is up to you guys.
It's the final question of the night, bro.
All right. Obviously, Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor both said they'd be willing to do a season 2. So my question to you guys is 2 parts. Do you think a season 2 is worth it?
No.
Hold on. And if so, what would you want to see out of it? Aaron, I guess, go first.
Well, hold on. Aaron, yeah, I'll go in a second, but I'm glad you asked that because we were going to do predictions. So that was on my predictions list. So predictions, Obi-Wan season 2.
I got to deliver this and then I got to bounce. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. All right. So
Doug, no, Aaron can go.
You sure?
I have to go after this question.
Go.
Okay.
You go.
Do you want to
go?
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, go.
Okay. I mean, I would watch a season 2.
Sure. Do we need it though? Do we need one?
I don't know because I don't know if I need it till I see it. Right? Like maybe I'm very I need like tangible whatever. But like, yeah, I would watch a season 2 if it was like, what do you want in a season 2? I don't know that I'd want Vader back. I kind of want him off doing his thing. He doesn't know Obi-Wan's on Tatooine. I would love to see Obi's journey to like becoming a more complete Jedi Master. I think they illustrated that very well in this, and now we can kind of assume. I guess I just want more like Force lore, right?
Yeah.
Like we got to see Yoda go through his like how to become immortal thing through Qui-Gon. So like I'd love to see that, but do we need it? I don't know. I would watch it.
Well, of course.
I would determine after that if I needed it or not. And in all likelihood, I probably don't. But I'd still watch the shit out of it, and I'd love to just absorb all that lore without having to read a book. I know I'm a fucking American.
That's fine. It's fine. Aaron.
As much a fan as I am of the stories between stories, which is why this series is so interesting to me, because it has enough action, but the joy that I took from it was the character development.
Yeah.
The no action was the greatest part of the Kenobi for me. I feel like Obi-Wan became the character I need him to be to set up for the original trilogy. But every thought that I have is aligned with what Brent just said. I don't need a season 2. I can't really see what season 2 would tell of Obi that I haven't seen already. If it did start to show me the tangibles, like Doug was saying, I might latch on to, oh, maybe that is the kind of Kenobi I want.
Mhm.
But what I do want, I want to see more Vader rage, and I want to see the story between where Vader gets to purge all of that anger and then begin to soften enough to where he starts to show cracks into why Luke was so effective in bringing him back.
Okay.
I think I agree with you. I don't need to see any more of Kenobi's story. I think I'm good. We obviously know, if for having watching Star Wars Rebels, he really isn't intricate into the beginning of the rebellion. I don't need to know his story. But in George Lucas' own words, the entire reason why the prequels exist, he was annoyed that people were calling Darth Vader a villain and not a victim. So he created the prequels to show them why he was actually a victim. I think that story can still be hammered home. I would be interested to see either a Vader in between episodes 3 and Kenobi. Show me that pain, show me that raw, just suffering. But even 10 times more so, show me the Vader after Kenobi in between A New Hope. Show me that guy. Show me the guy who was, left everything for the Jedi Order, faced his old master, fails, is called out on it by his new master, and is now forced to deal with those failures. And as we know in A New Hope, it's Tarkin who's in charge. It's not Vader. So what the hell happens to Vader to basically set him back in rank in the Empire? Show me that. Show me the pain of his suit. Show me the pain of his everyday existence. Make me understand the Vader that we see in A New Hope compared to the Vader we see in Kenobi. But don't make it a Kenobi sequel or whatever. Make it a movie or a mini series of Vader or the Empire. But just somehow get me there, because that's almost, with everything that they have kind of filled in, that's almost the last piece of the puzzle that I want to see is, how does Vader go from the right hand of Emperor Palpatine to basically the dog the Emperor Palpatine adopted 19 years ago that's just still kind of around, and it's he's too good of a dog to kill, but not useful enough to keep around. There's not enough Jedi to be hunting at this point, so he doesn't really need Vader.
We got to give him something to do.
Yeah,
I guess I've always just subscribed to the fact that I think Palpatine has always kept him in that position, because we see a lot of Tarkin in Clone Wars a little bit. I think we see him in a little bit, Rebels. I think part of his continued manipulation of Vader is to make sure that he is his right hand man. He's gonna build him up. It's that meme of LinkedIn Vader versus real life Vader.
Doug, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. What was going on over there, Ventus?
Oh, hold on, wait. Our dog.
Oh, I was I just saw some. No,
it's our dog. It's our puppy.
Okay.
No.
I'm wearing pants.
Jesus Christ. Yuta.
All I saw was your arm going like this, and you were just dangerously close to your husband. I'm like, what is going on over there? Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm an Obi fan. Look at this.
Right? Yeah, you are.
I'll stay away from the her.
No, I'm just messing around.
Yuta and Rex, I agree with. I also 10 times agree with Yuta. Darth Jar Jar. Make it canon.
So how about this as a vehicle, right? This is what I'm thinking. I think we could satisfy this desire to see more of Vader, satisfy, this, maybe a little bit of Obi-Wan, but a Reva series, short run, 6 to 8 episodes. And I know that this is going to sound cliche coming out of the box, but she is searching for her parents. She's got nothing else. She has no other family. So she's on this journey of self-discovery, looking for her parents. And then along the way, she is, she's righting wrongs. I don't want it to be the village of the weak type of thing that we saw in The Mandalorian, where he was like saving, the downtrodden person of the week. But, she has some adventures. She's running from the Inquisitors. And then maybe through that, we get a little more Vader and a little more Obi-Wan. And then a lot more Reeve.
I thought it would be kind of cool to see her become almost like running an orphanage for those who are orphaned throughout the war. Because she is someone who was in a way orphaned multiple times, I guess, as or taken from her family, then her family was taken from her again.
Right.
And I almost feel like maybe it'd be cool to see her not try and be a warrior in any sort of way, but she's just trying to live a peaceful life, allowing other people to have peace and happiness, and trying to make sure
the war comes to her
feels alone like she did.
Yeah, but then the war comes to her. That seems to be the lot in every peaceful Jedi or Force user's life. They always get pulled back in somehow.
The Jedi hunt themselves.
The Jedi hunt themselves. That is,
which is funny because they were two Jedi hunting Jedi.
Right?
I
see what they did. Oh, hold on. Okay. I got you. All right. So we're gonna wrap this sucker up. Thank you, everyone. This was a good show. This was a lot of fun. We didn't talk about anything we were supposed to talk about, but we talked about everything that we wanted to talk about. So yes. I think that's good. Thank you for everyone who interacted with us, all the viewers and the listeners out there. Before we go, does anyone have anything that they want to pimp out? I know we've got some Mixed Madness cosplay going on. So is that where people can find you?
Yes, Mixed Madness Cosplay, MYXED. I thought it was clever when I made the name 5 years ago on Instagram. We will be, our next event is going to be Fan Expo Chicago coming up next month. Aaron he's finishing up his Kanan Jarrus cosplay. And I am somehow finishing up my Ahsoka and Reva cosplays. We are very excited to be there because Ashley Eckstein is going to be there as well. And I will be fangirling. So that's our next thing. And then more conventions. So just cosplay and conventions for us.
There you go. D to the UG.
I'm taking a nap.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
For a month.
Oh, and the unnamed Doug and Venture show will be coming out at some point.
The V&D show is on the way.
The VD show.
The VD show, the V&D show, the VD show. But do stay tuned for that because I think that is going to be wonderful. I think that is going to be a fabulous show. And I think it is going to be a show that is needed. We talk about a lot of the big properties. Everybody's talking about the big properties. But there are some really, really good properties out there that no one really talks about or deep dives on or really gets into the nitty gritty. And that's where Ventus and Doug are going to take you. So
no Star Wars, no dicks. That's the premise.
No, I'm not watching it then. So I guess
maybe like a couple dicks.
Maybe like a few good minimal dicks.
Can you have like
minimal dicks?
We know that VD is a bad show title. We have not come up with anything else, and it's just
and Tony, that's why you are our adult.
That's why you're here.
That's why you are here. So we don't make shows like Star Wars and dicks.
It was an inside joke we can't get rid of, and if you don't help us, this is gonna be the name of our show.
Oh God!
I love the V&D show until something else comes up. But yeah, it's gonna be a great show. So do stay tuned for that. We've got a lot of stuff. Circle of Nerds has got a lot of stuff coming out in the very, very near future. So
Aaron's mustache will come in some more.
Aaron's mustache is coming in very nicely. So we will be watching your mustache's career with great interest. So I'm looking forward to that. The force is strong with your upper lip.
We're gonna, based on what Anthony's last comment, we're going to show what we believe. So, new show. Doug and I will discuss what venereal diseases we think each of our favorite characters probably have and how they got them.
It's really a show that's needed in our community.
It is needed in the community.
Mental health, meh. What's their dick got?
Yeah.
That's the quote. You know what? I haven't made a single promo for the show yet, but I'm making a promo off of that right there. What's their dick got? And on that note, I think that's a great place to wrap.
What's that Vader dick got? Did that burn off? No,
You know what? I've always wondered that. It's like, does he
No,
He was
it
dipped
stops
down
at
in
the-
those coals,
he was
bro.
bit down in the coals? I mean,
it
I'm thinking
stops
like,
at the
Yeah, I know, but
knees,
he's
it
crawling
stops-
on some
It
Mustafar
stops at the knees.
hot coals.
Who's he
What?
fucking?
he was on some lava rocks. I'm just
Not
saying.
later.
Put on
Who's
fire.
later?
Did he get some
Okay.
shit from the Empire? That's the question.
And when you look at Vader's outfit, there's that trap door on the crotchal area. And if you ever look at it, there is the
The
cutout.
male G spot is canonically
Canonically,
in the anus.
Are
you talking about
that was
science?
away from the
Canonically?
fire.
Take us out. Take this out.
So Greedo's draped the carpet. Oh my God, what's happening? What is happening? So, just for the 4 people who are here, and if it, whoever does watch this later on, the Cosmic Disasters show may be coming back, and this is usually what happened on the Cosmic Disasters show. That's where the whole concept of Star Wars and dicks came from, because we would do this. And it's fun. I do love talking about, the deep dive stuff and the important stuff and that stuff. But you know what? Sometimes you just need some more dick in your life. And if we can provide you with some nerdy, socially awkward dick, then when you think awkward dick, you think Circle of Nerds.
That's the shirt. That's the second shirt of the night.
That's another t-shirt. That's
You
a t-shirt.
think awkward dick.
Think Circle of Nerds.
Circle of Nerds.
I'm just thinking about my pillow.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, Doug's gotta go.
Let Doug sleep, guys.
All right, go to
Killing me.
I got to go to the day job in a few hours. So, all right. Thank you everyone for joining us this week. We have no idea if we're going to be back next week or not, but because we don't have anything going on. Andor is coming out pretty soon, so we might do some Andor stuff. We might have Daddy Louie watching Clone Wars, and maybe we'll be back next week. Maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But until then, as always, thank you so much for joining us and doing that thing that you do with us. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you very, very much for your support. If you'd like to support us further, head on over to patreon.com/Circle of Nerds. And there you're going to get a little bit of extra content from us, and everything that you contribute there, it helps us to keep the lights on here and move forward and just get better and do some more fun stuff. So we appreciate all of our patroni, who we love so very much. And of course, do please follow us on all social media platforms and wherever you happen to listen to your podcasts. And we will see you next time. And anybody got anything else on the way out?
And remember,
if no one does anything nice for you, do something nice to yourself. And we will see you next time.
They're quite furry. Very furry.